so excited for this video. Filmed and produced.
Filmed,
by
produced,
Mike Seska.
edited, narrated by Mike.
I'm not editing this shit. It's not happening.
So as we were discussing earlier, one of the biggest questions that I personally have when it comes to knife situations as a whole is when you're in situations that you obviously can't run, can't get away, can't run, so I'm forced to deal with the knife. What is the best approach to closing that distance? Because again, you're not going to know how the person's coming at you with a knife per se.
Fair enough. I'm going to take the word best out of there.
That's fine. That's fine.
All of these options are going to suck in some form or fashion. My approach, my belief with a lot of this stuff is teaching people, for the most part, parries, arm stops, and stuffing. All right, coming down to it. So arm stop, for my like KM people, it's like your outside defense in 360s. Arm stop, I'm using a big old frame.
KM, that's Krav Maga.
Krav Maga. Crave Rangu. So like big arm stops using the arm here, parries being moving things out of the way, or inside, whatever the hell you want to call it. And then like stuffing, framing being like into here if I've got to get like that type thing, right? So there's no great answer, or I should say there's no rule book to it. It's not like, oh, a straight stab should be this, an overhand stab should be this. Yeah. So the way that I get people to do this is, okay, well, first and foremost, let's break it down into like basic techniques. So we'll do the big, stupid, ugly, like right hand haymaker. It's like, okay, this is an arm stop. You can talk about details if you really want to get into it. So like finger splayed, palms out versus palm in, and all that type of stuff. Like you can play that game. If it's coming at different angles, I'm really just trying to like match and meet that in some regard. It can be, cross body in any way, shape, or form. Like you're just figuring out, like I'm blocking, and you keep it open-ended, in my opinion. So I'm not going like, oh, right hand, I have to block with my left. It's under, I have to do this direction. It's like, no, man, things coming at you, just learn how to block it. Parries, like, depending on where my hands are at, like, again, however the hell you want, like getting it the hell out of the way, moving and swashing in some form or fashion to be able to just move stuff. That's it. It's like, oh shit, boom, get it out of the way. Stuffing, if it's like in, like over and just trying to get into here and he's pulling it out and things like that. I might be up into the arm, I might be down into this, but it's all gonna be just ugly, right? So then, what I like to do is, I teach very concept-based, and I like to teach in just myriad progressions, just kind of taking things up. So, okay, cool, we know how to do an arm stop, we know how to do a parry. Now the name of the game is, I'm gonna stab at you different directions, but it's one stab at a time. So I'm just coming in, and you do whatever makes sense. Right, and it's a pace enough to whoever the individual is for them to be able to see some things, screw some stuff up, and do most of it right? But there's no, you have to do this, right? You have to do this, that type of stuff.
One weird trick to close the distance.
Always, right? That weird trick is to carry salt in your pocket.
Knife fighters hate him. Hey, hold on. I just realized all my inserts, I didn't have lighting on me. This is what they want to see, Dave.
This is what they want. The shimmering of natural light bouncing off your bald head. Right, so then, once we have okay, cool, they're moving pretty well from there. Now we get relatively realistic. In most cases, this hand's doing something. It's very rare that the knife attack just looks like this as it's going to come in. So then I'll start having them post on the head, and now they're throwing a stab. Or frame across the body and stab in different directions. Frame here and stab in different directions. And now they've got to start figuring out, how do we do arm stops, parries, stuffing, what makes the most sense in that regard, right? Right. So same exact deal, if I'm doing this to you, right? When I'm trying to stab. Right? And again, it's at a pace they can manage. Still mess up a little bit. However, call it 70 to 80% of it, they're actually getting it to move, right? And so we're starting to build some sensitivity. Then you can pick that up if they're moving pretty well. So, okay, cool, we're moving at a pace, you look good. All right, you're crushing it, you're doing really good. Then it's not necessarily about speed, in my opinion. It's about fluidity, right? So instead of there being like here, hitch, reset, here, hitch, reset, here, I'm just gonna make it constant, right? Not necessarily faster. So if we go in, right? And again, none of this is like a technique.
Right.
It's sensitivity, it's awareness, it's moving things, and it's learning how to not get fucking stabbed.
So are you at the point almost where if we're in the situation, knife's drawn, but you haven't stepped into me yet, are you essentially almost waiting for those initial engagements per se? Or am I gonna start throwing, again, if I can't run away?
Did you guys hear that? That trademarked by Ryan Hoover.
It's a big word.
No, look, here's the thing, right? Like, we're isolating not getting stabbed.
Right.
The idea of like, how do I cover distance? What does this look like? Do I hit early? All those type of things. In my opinion, you need to isolate those things, right? So same exact idea. If you have a blade and we want to go, hey, how do I teach people to hit against the knife? It's less about like, you know, again, like I come from a KM background, so like you stab, you know, underhand here. It's less about like, you know, the simultaneous counterattack, all that type of stuff. And it's more about, okay, I'm gonna let you stab and move, and it's when can I go and make my hit, bang, and get up off to the outside. And I'm just letting people explore the idea of when can you actually throw strikes when you're being stabbed at versus, all right, I'm anticipating the blade and now I'm going to go and do this, which isn't realistic.
Right.
Because again, this knife attack could be, you know, here and we're doing this and I'm smacking you around and now the knife comes out and it's like, well, that's not how I learned it. And it's like, well, look, you might see the knife attack coming from here, right? Where I'm fucking out of my damn mind and I've got the, you know, knife in my hand and I'm coming at you like this and it's very obvious something's gonna happen. So there's a mental preparation to that.
Right.
You might be paying attention to somebody over there and by the time you realize that this is a knife situation, you're already getting stabbed. So there, in my opinion, teaching people this is what you do in this case, this is what you do in this case is, you know, whatever, disingenuous, it's dishonest. I like letting people play and explore. So we start these drills building. Okay, this is just how you do parries and arm stops. Now you're gonna do it against a blade. Now we're gonna speed it up. Now there's gonna be a post involved. Now, how do I cover distance and get into a linkage? Well, now I'm gonna do the same exact thing I was doing with you before, but you have to get into some form of a control position. I don't care what the fuck it is. Front side 2-on-1, inside 2-on-1, overhook, whatever. So I grab on, and you just let them play and figure shit out.
Right.
Now, before they can do that, they have to know what a frontside 2-on-1 is, and inside 2-on-1 and outside 2-on-1. So you have like learn how to wrestle, learn wrestling skills and mechanics, learn striking, right? Learn.
Let me answer this question. I'm going to answer this question. The question he's asking, reality-based self-defense instructors are always the same. They're always it's always the same shit.
Cloth.
Your student asks, "What help me with this thing?" And they're like, "Well, there's not really techniques. Like techniques aren't a thing."
They're not.
It's because they don't know any. So they just make up all these principles. He asked you if the bad guy's got a knife and you want to go forward, and everyone's like, "Just run away." Maybe you can't. The answer is always going to be front. It's always front kick. It's always front kick. He even felt it coming and he couldn't get away from it. It's always front kick.
I can say that, but I can actually show you a video of somebody throwing a stomp kick and getting stabbed in the leg. Theoretically speaking, you know, what do I do to cover distance and create, like, if you're talking specifically about dealing with the blade, we usually just stick to arm stops, parries, and stuffs. Okay, now that's if I'm engaging with the blade. There's also the opportunity that if you reach out and grab my shirt, right, that I can just clear the outside, boom, deck you in the head. I don't have to engage with the blade.
Right. To
I deal
stop
with
it
that.
before it even.
But I would have had to have trained.
Grappling.
Yes, grappling, wrestling, working to the outside, support hand against that. You have to train to learn to potentially go away from the blade versus having our weapons fixation, which is totally normal.
You should do a video on that.
I should. It's almost like we have.
Yeah, if you go to youtube.com/hard to hurt, there's a video with me and Aaron where we covered which do you address first, the leveraging arm or the knife arm.
It's not a clean-cut answer. It's never going to be a clean-cut answer. But that would be the way that I would introduce it from a progression standpoint. But you're isolating that. Right? As opposed to making it like, oh, this is the defense and counter, this is the linkage, this is the striking, this is the movement. It's no, like let's isolate just this thing. Let's try not to get stabbed. And let's play with that. Now let's make it harder. Now let's make it harder. Now let's make it harder. Now let's make it harder.
That's what she said.
As you get closer and closer, yeah.
Right? So that's the way that I would approach it. But the fuck do I know? Get it? Play around, fuck around, find out, explore, and train. And that's the thing, pressure test it.
Make sure you subscribe so that you can see in his next video, I've taught him how to do an outro, and he's gonna do a really good outro on the next one.